Hey, welcome back. We are reading on the Heavenly Spheres, written by Helena Avalar and Luis Ribeiro. We're on chapter 10, my gosh, which is page 149. And this chapter is called The Condition of the Planets. All right. In addition to the essential dignity and ability of the planets, there are other conditions that increase and decrease or modify the expression of a planet. These conditions are based upon the repetition to a greater or lesser extent, or the idolized astrological of the idolized astrological scheme. With regard to this topic, the moon will be considered separately because it is a luminary and not a planet. Sun and planet relationships. The sun is the engine of the astrological scheme. Its movement produces the zodiac and the seasons of the year, and its central position in the celestial sphere determines the essential nature of the planets. The sun also defines day and night. Its light is so bright that no planet, with the exception of the moon, can be seen during the day. Because of its overarching power, the sun plays a pivotal role in the dynamic relationship among the planets. Increase and decrease of light. In astrology, there is a direct relationship between luminosity and strength. The more light a planet has, the stronger it is in the horoscope because its light and visibility are the root of astrological interpretation. The amount of light that a planet appears to display to a terrestrial observer, the solar light reflected to the Earth, is determined by its position in relation to the sun. When a planet is very close to the sun, its light is overwhelmed by the sun's glare. As it distances itself from the sun, or the sun from it, the planet gradually becomes more luminous and consequently more visible. It is said then to be increasing in light. The planet reaches its greatest luminosity when it's farthest from the sun. From that point on, the process reverses itself and the planet is next said to be decreasing in light. The phase of least luminosity corresponds to the conjunction of the sun. In the case of the slower superior planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, this condition is established from its proximity or distance from the sun. The cycle begins with the conjunction, during which the planet is not visible to the terrestrial observer due to the solar glare. As the sun distances itself from the planet, it gradually becomes brighter and therefore stronger. This increase in light culminates with the opposition, the point where the planet reflects the greatest amount of solar light. After this, the sun begins once more to approach the planet, which starts to decrease in light and is therefore weakened. The decrease culminates with the new conjunction to the sun, a rebirthing. For the inferior planets, Venus and Mercury, the cycle is different due to their proximity with the sun. Their cycles exhibit two different phases of increase in light. One when they detach from the sun during direct motion, and one when they move away from the sun during retrograde motion. Similarly, they also exhibit two phases corresponding to a decrease in light. One when direct and one when retrograde. To determine the phase of the cycle in which the planets find themselves in a particular horoscope, it is necessary to observe the direction of its movement in relation to the sun. So we have a practice example. Increase and decrease in light. The chart of Florabella Espanca illustrates the increase and decrease of light of the inferior planets. The chart of Florabella Espanca first looks at inferior planets, Venus and Mars. It's funny that I did that. Mercury and Venus. That's what we're talking about. So we first look at the inferior planets, Mercury and Venus. Venus is conjunct the sun and is therefore not visible. So actually we're looking at chart number 3 and it's on the other page. And you can see Venus is definitely with the sun. They're like a degree apart. Venus is beginning to move away from it and thus is beginning to increase in light, but still very hidden. Mercury, on the other hand, is nearing the sun and is thus in a phase of decreasing in light. Is it because it's going retrograde? Wait. Oh, I'll just read. The conclusion then is that Venus is becoming stronger and Mercury is moving toward a weaker state. Regarding the superior planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, Saturn and Jupiter are both in the phase of increased light because the Sun, the faster body, is separating from them. Saturn, in its initial phase with the Sun relatively close by, while Jupiter is closer to culminating its cycle because the Sun hold on, starting this paragraph over. Regarding the superior planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, Saturn and Jupiter are both in a phase of increased light because the Sun, the faster body, is separating from them. Saturn, in its initial phase, with the Sun relatively close by, while Jupiter is close to culminating its cycle because the Sun is nearing its maximum distance, the opposition. The conclusion is thus both are strengthening. Mars, in turn, is in its phase of decreased light because the Sun is gradually approaching it. The Moon is increasing in light because it is moving away from the Sun. Note, although this contributes to a general study of the chart, this condition is not interpreted in isolation. Okay, see what's going on. All right. Under the beams, combustion and Cassini. When a planet nears the Sun, its light is concealed by the heavenly king. As it advances into the area of solar glare, its light becomes ever more difficult to see until it's ultimately completely hidden. The glare of the Sun projects about 17 degrees to either side of the Sun. It is this glare that can be seen at dusk, just after the Sun has set, when the star king crosses the descendant. It only appears after the Sun is descended to about 17 degrees below the horizon. The glare is also visible at dawn. It is the dawn light that announces the start of a new day before the sunrise, which is about 17 degrees below the ascendant. The day only really begins when the Sun crosses the ascendant. When a planet enters into the glare, it is said to be under the beams of the Sun. Its visibility is compromised as soon as it is fewer than 17 degrees from the star king, our Sun. A planet in these conditions is slightly weakened because it cannot shine at its maximum strength. When the proximity to the Sun is within 8 degrees, it is said to be combust. In this case, the light is no longer visible under the Sun's rays. The qualities of the planet are also very weakened. Combustion, by the way, is considered a greater debility. A greater debility. It removes from the planet a great part of its capacity to act, weakening its expression, whether for good or bad. In a natal chart, a combust planet indicates a degree of inhibition with regard to the matters signified by the planet in that horoscope. The repercussions of this situation depend on the relative importance of the planet and its functions in the chart. For example, if a combust planet is the ruler of one of the angles of the chart, the condition tends to be more noticeable. In other cases, it may be relatively inconsequential. In specific situations, such as horary astrology, combustion may indicate weakness, disease, anxiety, fear, imprisonment, or even death, depending obviously on the question and the context. This occurs because the state of combustion is similar to a burn. The planet and what it signifies is burned up by the Sun. For example, if the combust planet is the ruler of the ascendant in a horary chart, It suggests a worried person under pressure or in some way weakened. If the significator of an object that one wishes to purchase is raised, if it is the significator of an object that one wishes to purchase, it raises the questions regarding the satisfactory condition of the article or said item. In another context, combustion can also be associated with hidden things, which correlates to the invisibility of the planet. And again, that's like horary and not needle. Combustion affects each planet in a different way in accordance with the different natures of the planets. Mercury, a naturally dry planet, is a little affected by combustion. Its effects manifest as a slight loss of objectivity. Besides that, the frequent proximity of Mercury to the Sun makes combustion relatively common. Mars, an exceedingly hot and dry planet, possesses a nature that is exacerbated under combustion. Nonetheless, that excess in itself becomes a limiting factor on the actions of the planet. On the other hand, for the feminine planets, Venus and the Moon, whose principal characteristic is moistness, combustion is particularly damaging because it contradicts the essence of these planets. Combust Jupiter loses the wetness of its characteristic of it, thus diminishing its temperance. I know someone with some conjunct Jupiter. Oh, good. Okay. In Aquarius. Yeah. Let's see. Uh-huh. Yep. As for Saturn, the excessive heat of combustion disturbs its cold nature and produces rigidity. Returning to Florabella's horoscope. Venus is combust at 1 degree and 49 minutes from the Sun. Because Venus is the ascendant ruler, combustion will affect something intrinsic in her personal expression, which in this case is a strong interest in love and romance. Nonetheless, combustion diminishes the sensibility that is characteristic of Venus. We thus get a strong expression of emotional greed, where there is a powerful focus on feelings and personal and subjective experiences, combined with difficulty in understanding the feelings of others. Note that this dynamic expression occurs in the third house of communication and writing. There exists a special case of combustion wherein a planet is strengthened rather than weakened. This occurs when the planet is in the exact conjunction with the Sun, or more precisely, when it is 17 minutes or less of the center of the solar disk. This condition is known as cazimi, which means in the heart of the Sun. It corresponds to a state of great power, where the planet is supported and facilitated by the power of the Star King. I like calling the Sun the Star King. I might keep doing that. Oh, Helios. The outcome of this special situation depends on the condition of the planet. If it is dignified, cazimi adds to it a strong ability to project itself. If it is debilitated, the strength conferred by the condition of cazimi may accentuate the difficulties. A good example of this first case would be in a chart with Saturn, ruler of the midheaven, dignified in Aquarius, and cazimi. In this case, the native has a good chance of receiving recognition and fame. The seriousness of the work ethic of dignified Saturn are enhanced by the Sun. For the second case, consider a chart where Saturn, ruler of the midheaven, is simultaneously in fall and cazimi. Here, the Sun also grants fame, but maybe not for the best of reasons, because Saturn is debilitated. In whatever case, what needs to be highlighted is that cazimi only enhances whatever is already present in the horoscope. In the chart of Edgar Allan Poe, Mercury, the planet of communication and writing, is cazimi and only 12 minutes from the Sun. Mercury is therefore greatly strengthened by the Sun. Because of this chart, the sun rules the midheaven. Because in this chart, the sun rules the midheaven, its action manifests as fame. The conjunction occurs in the third house of communication and writing, indicating that fame will come from these activities. Oh, and sometimes I use a lot of whole sign, and I'm like, wait a minute, what where's the there's the midheaven. Got it. Sun, midheaven, Leo. Huh. Okay. It's hard to tell. Wait, is the sun in Capricorn here? Then it really is the third house. The strong connection between Mercury and Saturn by aspect and disposition describe the somber quality of his writings. In addition, Mercury rules the eighth house, which also contributes to his style of literary writing, which is marked by morbid themes and psychological undertones. I'm going to read this Edgar Allan Poe paragraph one more time and then call it for this. In the chart of Edgar Allan Poe, Mercury, planet of communication and writing, is Cazimi in only 12 minutes from the sun. Mercury is therefore greatly strengthened by the sun. Because in this chart the sun rules the midheaven, its action manifests as fame. The conjunction occurs in the third house of communication and writing, indicating that fame will come from these activities. The strong connection between Mercury and Saturn by aspect and disposition describes the somber quality of his writings. In addition, Mercury rules the eighth house, which also contributes to his style of literary writing, which is marked by morbid themes and psychological undertones. Yes, it is. Okay, see you in the next video. Thank you.